Good evening, everyone. The highlights of the news this Thursday. Traffic accidents. A Beaver County man is being held for murder. And more labor.
Hello everyone, this is King Kapuka Kupono here. Today we're doing a review on KastKing's brand new reel. It's the Sharky III spinning reel. KastKing sent me this reel a little over a month ago. I've had about maybe 10 hours of time playing with it out on the water. Mainly what I've done with this is just cast larger lures, maybe your like 50 to 100 gram style lures. I've loaded it up with 50-pound braid. That was in an effort to really just put this thing through the ringer, see how it stands up to some heavier weight lures. This is KastKing's newest addition to their reel set. It's a saltwater approved spinning reel. The reel has a 5.2 to 1 gear ratio, meaning that one turn of the handle has 5.2 turns to the rotor. The rotor and the body assembly itself is made up of a graphite composite. The base plate here is made up of a plastic, and the spool is aluminum. The base plate on most reels nowadays are plastic. Theory behind that is that you're gonna be busting this up eventually if you're out fishing, placing your reel down and stuff, and you want that part to have the most impact on things to be the part that gets easily changed out, so you can just switch these base plates out if you really need to. This reel comes in a 2,000 to 5,000 size. This size here is the 5,000. The weight of this reel is 10.5 ounces or 299 grams. The price of this reel is about $50, which in my opinion is pretty crazy. The drag system on this reel is what I think is kind of the most impressive feature of this reel. The drag system holds 39.5 pounds, which is absolutely insane for a reel of this size. Most 5,000 series reels, you're looking at maybe 15 to 25 pounds of drag, and this one is almost 40 pounds of drag. And I'm not kidding about that. I got a lure stuck while I was fishing with this reel and really need to put this drag system through what it's worth, and it held up just fine. I was actually able to bend the treble hook on that lure and retrieve the lure. Hurting, guys. It is dangled. Oh, how I let that happen, brah. What? Wow. That's what I did. I freaking bent the shaft of this hook, but retrieved the lure. That's good. What's up? This reel features 10+1 saltwater rated double Maxiter shielded stainless steel ball bearings. That is a mouthful. Basically, they're the same ball bearings that go on almost all KastKing reels. After using this for about 10 hours, I can say that it hasn't lost any of its play. It still feels really nice. And all my other KastKing reels, the ball bearings held up just fine to the saltwater here. Speaking of the saltwater, this reel also features a new system of keeping water out of your reel in the event that you drop it or maybe some waves hit you. That is called the KISS system, which is an acronym KastKing has made up called the KastKing Intrusion Shield System. What that is a series of points that KastKing identified as the likely areas that water will get into your reel, and they've just beefed those areas up with extra protection to prevent such a thing. So on the top of the drag knob, you have a system here that really locks that in and creates a watertight seal on the drag washers. On the shaft, you have a similar system here that in essence locks into the bottom and prevents any water from getting into your drag system. There's also ester gaskets and things that are sitting on the gearbox assembly in multiple spots as well. The idea behind that is that if you accidentally drop your reel in the water, you're not gonna have to be as sad as you would otherwise. It's not gonna be that bad because water isn't gonna get into your critical components. One caveat that I found with this, and really the only major issue that I have with this reel, is putting your cap back on. So you see that they have this pin here, right? Normally when you put this back on, that little pin will get in the way of it screwing back on. So you can see as I'm tightening it, this side here is lifting up a little higher than the other side, and that's because that pin is still engaged and hasn't set in. So after about 20 minutes of playing with this thing and figuring out what to do, I found a little method that gets it back in. Really, you just got to push on it and it snaps back into place and you can just put it right on. At first I was afraid that I was going to maybe mess something up, but it handles just fine. Goes right back in. I've contacted KastKing and they said that that's not a normal issue that they've heard about yet. So it could be that this reel in itself has maybe a stronger pin or something's wrong. Once I figure out exactly what that's all about, I'll put an update in the description of this video and I'll let you guys know what I find out. Some of the interesting features of this spool, there's a band here under this braid that KastKing has put on, which makes this reel braid ready. All you gotta do is tie it onto that little rubber area and it keeps the line locked down. It doesn't have any play. It holds on there really nice actually. And that means you don't have to put a backing and you don't really got to worry about any slippage of your braid while it's on the reel, which clears up a little extra room to fit more braid on if that's what you're choosing. And really, if you're using this reel with a almost 40-pound like drag system, you probably want to put some braid on it because your monofilament, you're putting like 40-50-pound monofilament, it's going to be huge. It's going to take up all your room. As for line capacity on this, this is probably the one area that I would say this reel is lacking in. The line capacity isn't as high as most reels of this series, of a 5000 series. A few reasons for that. KastKing reels like this, a 5000 is smaller than most other manufacturers' 5000 series reels. Add to that in order to get that almost 40 pounds of drag, they needed a beefy set of drag washers in here. The washers in this thing are massive, which took up some of the line capacity. So you're getting a trade-off. You're getting a reel that has the load of strength, but the line cap isn't as high as it could be. For 30-pound braid, it holds 220 yards. For 40-pound braid, 190 yards. And for 50-pound braid, it holds 160 yards. A little comparisons to a few other reels out there. The Daiwa BG, which as you might know, Daiwa makes everything bigger than normal. So the Daiwa, instead of being a little smaller, is actually a little bigger. That holds a little over 500 yards of 30-pound braid, which is just about twice as much line as this reel holds, but it has a 22-pound drag system, 6+1 instead of 10+1 bearings, and it's twice the price of this reel. The Pin Battle 2 holds about 300 yards of 30-pound braid. This holds about 75% of what the 5000 series Pin Battle 2 holds. It has a 25-pound drag system, so a little bit higher than the Daiwa BG. 6+1 bearings, just like the Daiwa BG. The Daiwa BG costs around $100 for a 5000 series. The Pin Battle, maybe, I think it's about $80, and this one $50. So when you're deciding what reel you want, that's something to take into effect. You're getting a little bit of a smaller reel, but I mean, it's almost half the price of the other reels. The drag system in this is almost identical to the drag system in the KastKing Kodiak. In fact, a lot of this reel is almost identical to that reel. That reel is about $90. What KastKing did with this reel is that they took the good features of that and they streamlined it, added the few brand new features they came up with, and you have the Sharky III. The bail system on this is very similar to that of the KastKing Kodiak. It feels really nice. There is a point that kind of gets a little stuck, so sometimes you need to manually switch it, but for the most part that never really becomes an issue. However, there are times when you might open your bail and have it set to that little critical position there where you're not going to be able to really close with the handle. You're going to have to manually do it. Some positive things though, I've never had the bail prematurely set on me while casting. I've casted this for about, I don't know, maybe like 6 or 7 hours with lures, running back and forth along different cliffs, different beaches. Not once did I have the thing prematurely set, which is pretty great. I also like the way that KastKing's reels sit when you open the bail. It's really wide, so it's not in the way, and I never gotta worry about it really catching on what I'm doing or, again, setting prematurely. Some reels I've used, it's almost like a hair trigger where just you gotta watch out because it'll snap beforehand. This one doesn't really do that. However, it does have that slight turning lockup. Some other reels do that too, for sure. The line roll on this is what KastKing is calling their anti-twist line roller. The angle on the line roller is very steep, and after spooling it up with this brand new braid and using it for, you know, like I say, like 6 or so hours casting on the shore, I have never had any line twists, so, you know, that holds up to being true. It has begun to collect some wax from the brand new braid, which I expect is because that angle is so steep, it all kind of collects on the inside there. But that, I mean, I just got to scrape it out. It's pretty minor. The shaft on this reel is an oversized stainless steel shaft, which is larger than most shafts I've seen. I think it's somewhere around the area of 15 to 20% larger than most reel shafts. It is sizably larger. The pinion gear on this is a magnesium brass alloy, while the drive gears are zinc alloy, all of which is rated as an anti-corrosive gear system. So even if water somehow got past that KISS system, in theory, those gears still should not corrode. The reel has anti-reverse on it. Throw the lock, can't go backwards. All the gears feel great on the anti-reverse. There's little to no play when you're backpedaling. It doesn't have any movement. It stops right when you stop, and that's even across the entire reel, which is a good indicator of some quality gear sets in there. The handle on this is an area that KastKing has saved some money on. If you've owned or seen the KastKing Kodiak, you know that the handle on that is anodized aluminum, and it has a mechanism here that allows the handle to fold inwards for storage. The handle on this reel is fixed, and it's made out of the same graphite composite as the body and the rotor. So that saved some money there, which personally I'm fine with. I know some people out there really like to be able to fold their reel handles over. A lot of people out there are still reluctant to get carbon fiber composite reels. While looking into this reel, I wanted to figure out what is graphite composite. Like, I hear that all the time, and I'm like, I think like, well, this does not feel like pencil lead. What is going on? And it turns out that graphite composite is basically, they take graphite and they roll it into sheets, and then they pile that together into what became graphite fiber. Nowadays, that fiber is made by burning hydrocarbon fibers instead of rolling it up physically. Basically, what that means is that a graphite body is more prone to impact breakage. You're more likely to break a graphite body by dropping it or smacking it, whereas a aluminum-based body is more likely to bend or like misform under high strains and pressures, and if you drop it, you can bend it as well. It's also a lot more expensive to machine and cast things out of aluminum than it is graphite. So it's got a bad rep because people equate less expensive to being worse, but I've owned a number of graphite reels, and all the ones that aren't totally cheap have held up just fine to me. I generally take good care of my reels though, and I don't drop them all that much, so I haven't had any issues, knock on wood, breaking my reels. So to wrap this up, some things that I would like to see from this reel series is maybe a oversized spool option on it. I know that the Sharky II actually went up to the 10,000 series, so I'm hoping that in the future I'll see this reel being made in a larger series, because I would like a larger version of this. Everything works great on this reel, and I love the drag system on this reel. But I'd love if I could have a bigger, beefier, larger version of the reel. Because what I'm doing out here, casting these lures really far, I'd like to use it for some dunking, and it would just make me happier to have a little more line capacity. So the question, for 50 bucks, is this the best reel out there? So in my opinion, yeah, for 50 bucks, this reel is a steal. It's strong, there's no play into it. It's lasted a good 10 hours of fishing. I'll keep fishing with it. If anything changes, I will put it in the description. But as of now, for 50 bucks, all day. You're gonna be hard pressed to find a reel out there that's made to the quality of this one for 50 bucks. That is insanely cheap for the size and series reel as this one right here. That's all there is to this, guys. Please let me know what you think. This is my first full reel review. Let me know if I missed something. Let me know if you think something different. Again, I'm always learning things from you guys. It's great to bounce ideas back off one another. And I get a lot of my inspiration and idea for videos directly from you. So please let me know what you want to see in the future. Was this reel review video useful for you? Did you like how I did it? Throw me a comment, let me know. Other than that, love you guys. See you on the next one. Da-doosh!